There is a point in life where distractions stop working. You can scroll, achieve, travel, consume, accomplish, and still feel an undercurrent of dissatisfaction that refuses to disappear. That feeling is not ingratitude. It is not weakness. It is awareness, knocking at a door you have kept closed for too long. Most people do not avoid self-discovery because they are lazy. They avoid it because it threatens stability. If you truly examine your beliefs, your relationships, your direction, you might have to admit that some of it was built on fear rather than truth. And that realization can shake the ground beneath you. But here is the reality. What you avoid does not disappear. It shapes you silently. The unexamined belief directs your decisions. The ignored insecurity influences your reactions. The suppressed desire drains your energy. Whether you confront it or not, it is already operating. Self-discovery is not about dismantling your entire life overnight. It is about turning the light on, about being brave enough to observe yourself without immediate defense, to notice where you feel contracted, where you feel expansive, where you feel authentic, where you feel performed. You cannot build a meaningful future on a misunderstood present, and you cannot understand yourself if you are constantly escaping silence. Growth requires stillness. It requires moments where you sit with your thoughts long enough to hear what is underneath them. This is not a journey of becoming more impressive. It is a journey of becoming more honest. Because once you see clearly, you stop negotiating with what you know is misaligned. And that clarity becomes the foundation for every change that follows. Living without self-examination feels easier in the short term. You follow expectations, meet responsibilities, chase familiar milestones. From the outside, everything appears functional. But internally, there is friction, a subtle resistance that grows each time you ignore your intuition. When you do not question your patterns, you repeat them. You choose similar relationships with different faces. You encounter the same frustrations in new environments. You set goals that excite you briefly, but leave you empty once achieved. The scenery changes, but the script remains the same. This repetition is not coincidence. It is conditioning. Unexamined beliefs act like invisible instructions. If you believe you are only valuable when needed, you will overextend. If you believe conflict equals rejection, you will suppress your voice. If you believe rest equals laziness, you will burn out. The cost accumulates quietly. Resentment builds. Motivation declines. Confidence becomes fragile because it depends on performance rather than alignment. You may appear strong, yet internally feel disconnected from your own direction. Self-examination interrupts this cycle. It asks uncomfortable questions. Why do I tolerate what drains me? Why do I fear what could expand me? Why do I seek validation from those who cannot give me what I truly need? These questions are not meant to shame you. They are meant to liberate you. Awareness exposes the script you have been following unconsciously. And once you see the script, you are no longer obligated to perform it. That realization alone shifts your power dynamic with your own life. Somewhere along the way, your internal voice became quieter than external noise. Opinions from family, culture, social media, colleagues began shaping your decisions more than your own intuition. Not because you lacked intelligence, but because belonging felt safer than standing alone. When external input dominates, self-trust weakens. You second-guess simple choices. You seek reassurance before acting. You delay decisions out of fear of being wrong. Over time, this erodes confidence, not because you are incapable, but because you stopped listening inward. Reclaiming your internal voice requires deliberate silence. Moments without constant input. Space where your thoughts are not immediately influenced by someone else's perspective. At first, this silence feels uncomfortable. You may notice anxiety or uncertainty rising. It is natural. You are reconnecting with a voice you have ignored. Begin with small decisions. What do I genuinely prefer? What feels aligned right now? Act on those answers without excessive justification. Each time you honor your internal signal, even in minor situations, trust rebuilds. This does not mean rejecting advice or isolating yourself. It means filtering input through awareness rather than dependence. You can listen without surrendering authority. You can learn without losing identity. As your internal voice strengthens, clarity increases. Decisions become less about pleasing and more about aligning. The noise does not disappear, but it loses dominance. And when your own perspective carries weight again, direction feels steadier. Self-honesty is not about harsh criticism. It is about accurate reflection. It is the ability to admit when you are avoiding responsibility, when you are driven by ego, when you are staying small out of fear. Without honesty, growth becomes illusion. You can attend seminars, read books, set goals, and still remain unchanged if you refuse to acknowledge what truly motivates you. Transformation begins the moment you stop justifying misalignment. Ask yourself where you are pretending. Where are you saying you are fine when you are not? Where are you calling something a priority but consistently neglecting it? Where are you blaming circumstances instead of examining your choices? These reflections are not comfortable. They dismantle narratives that protect your pride, but they also create freedom. When you admit the truth, you gain the power to change it. When you deny it, you remain stuck, defending it. Self-honesty also means acknowledging strengths without minimizing them, recognizing your capability, accepting your progress. Growth is balanced. It confronts weakness while honoring potential. The discipline lies in consistency, not occasional reflection when things fall apart, but regular check-ins even when life feels stable, because alignment is not permanent. It requires maintenance, and honesty is the tool that keeps your internal compass calibrated. Comfort is seductive. It offers predictability. It protects you from immediate discomfort. But comfort can quietly become confinement. When you repeatedly choose what feels safe over what feels expansive, your world shrinks. Growth demands calculated discomfort. Speaking when silence is easier. Setting boundaries when compliance feels smoother. Pursuing opportunities that stretch your skill set instead of reinforcing what you already master. The mind interprets discomfort as threat. Your heart may feel drawn toward change, yet your thoughts generate doubt. What if you fail? What if you are judged? What if you lose stability? These questions are natural, but they are not always accurate predictors. The real question is, what happens if you never try? What happens if you continue living beneath your capacity because safety feels preferable? Regret often weighs heavier than temporary fear. Choosing growth does not mean reckless decisions. It means intentional expansion, evaluating risks while recognizing that stagnation carries its own cost. Each time you step beyond familiarity, resilience strengthens. Over time, discomfort becomes less intimidating. It transforms from something to avoid into something that signals progress, and your tolerance for expansion increases. You realize you are capable of navigating uncertainty without losing yourself. Alignment occurs when your actions reflect your values, when your decisions match your priorities, when your external life mirrors your internal truth. It is not perfection. It is coherence. When you live aligned, energy shifts. Tasks feel purposeful rather than forced. Relationships feel mutual rather than obligatory. Goals feel motivating rather than draining. You stop experiencing constant internal contradiction. Alignment requires ongoing awareness. Values evolve. Circumstances change. What felt true 5 years ago may not resonate now. Staying aligned means allowing adjustment without guilt. It also requires courage. Sometimes alignment means walking away from environments that no longer fit. Sometimes it means redefining success. Sometimes it means disappointing others who preferred the older version of you. But the reward is stability. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become integrated. You no longer split yourself into acceptable fragments. You operate as a whole. Self-discovery leads here, not to a flawless identity, but to an honest one. A self you understand, respect, and trust. And when that foundation is strong, improvement becomes natural. Growth becomes sustainable. And your life begins to reflect not who you were conditioned to be, but who you consciously choose to become.